Hey there, deep diving friend. You really like those thinkers who like to shake things up, huh?
Yeah.
Well, get ready, because today we have a real mind bender for you. Michel Serres.
Yeah, he's something else, isn't he?
He's been called a philosopher-mathematician,
I know, right?
which, when you really think about it, kind of makes sense in a weird way, given how he saw the world
Exactly.
as this, I don't know, a web of connections across, time and disciplines and everything.
It's really fascinating stuff.
It really is. And our guide for this deep dive, Conversations between Serres and sociologist Bruno Latour.
Oh, those are great.
I know. Where Serres really gets to explain his view of the world.
He really lets loose in those.
And get this, Serres actually said that all authors are our contemporaries.
Wow.
Intrigued.
Let's dive in and see what he's all about.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Michel Serres, not your typical philosopher.
No, not at all. What always strikes me is how his life, his actual experiences, are woven right into his philosophy. Oh, absolutely. It's not every day you find a philosopher's bio that includes, World War II, Hiroshima.
Right.
I mean, this is someone who saw firsthand the dark side of what humans are capable of.
The dark side of power, for sure.
Power unleashed, in the most devastating ways imaginable.
It's heavy stuff.
It makes you wonder how living through such a tumultuous period, how experiencing that kind of darkness shaped his view of the world.
Yeah, it's like staring into the abyss and choosing to seek out beauty instead.
Wow.
But it's more than just turning away from the darkness. Serres, he doesn't just ignore the well-trodden paths of traditional philosophy. He veers off of them completely.
Really?
He felt like an outsider in both the science and the humanities worlds, like he didn't quite belong in either camp.
So instead of conforming, he just carves his own path.
Exactly. He even uses the term superhighways to describe those dominant schools of thought.
Superhighways?
Yeah, like those well-paved, heavily trafficked routes that everyone's expected to take.
Oh, I see.
But Serres, he's trekking through the unknown, forging his own trail, looking for connections that others they don't even see, let alone travel them.
That's quite a visual. I have to admit, I'm already hooked. So how does a philosopher, even one as outside the box as Serres, end up going rogue like that? I mean, what led him to this point?
Well, Serres was a bit of a maverick, always have been. He drew inspiration from everywhere and everyone.
Really?
Oh yeah, mathematics, literature, conversations with everyday people.
Wow.
He wasn't some stuffy academic holed up in an ivory tower, just reading old books. He was out in the world, piecing together knowledge from this incredibly diverse, tapestry of sources.
That's a refreshing approach. It sounds like he truly valued lived experience alongside academic theory, which isn't always the case, even in philosophy.
Not always, no.
But how does this kind of, unconventional background, how does that actually shape his philosophical ideas? I mean, what kind of philosophy emerges from this melting pot of influences?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. That's where his unique perspective on time comes into play.
Time.
And trust me, it's a real mind bender.
Okay, time.
Time.
It's usually a pretty straightforward concept, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Not for Serres, it seems. So what makes his view of time so radical?
Okay, imagine you're reading a history book. You see all these different eras all laid out neat and linear, right? Like this happened, then that happened, and on and on.
Makes sense.
Serres takes that history book and crumples it all up.
He crumples up history. I'm all for challenging the status quo, but that sounds a little chaotic, even for philosophy.
Maybe sounds chaotic, but trust me, there's a method to his madness.
Okay.
Think about it this way. On that crumpled up history book, the points that were once far apart, now they're suddenly touching.
Huh.
That's how Serres sees time. It's not this linear progression. It's a multi-dimensional web where the past, the present, the future, it's all interconnected. They all influence each other in this big tangled mess.
So it's less about what came first and more about how is everything connected.
Exactly. He's not saying we disregard chronology altogether.
Right.
He's saying that a thinker from, ancient Rome, someone like Lucretius, they can still be our contemporary.
How?
Because their ideas are echoing through the ages, you see.
Oh, okay.
And they still hold so much relevance in our modern world.
So we're not just stuck in time.
Not at all. It's all connected.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it, but how do we actually apply this, this crumpled map of time to understanding the world around us?
It means we shouldn't dismiss older thinkers or their ideas as irrelevant just because they lived, centuries ago.
Right, right.
Sayers is encouraging us to revisit them, to have a conversation with the past, and see what new insights emerge when we view those old ideas through a modern lens.
It's like those old books that just feel incredibly relevant to our present moment, even though they were written ages ago.
Exactly.
Are there any specific examples of thinkers that Sayers felt particularly connected to, despite, the distance of time?
Oh, absolutely. He was drawn to thinkers who, embraced complexity. Those who saw the interconnectedness of things.
So who are we talking about?
Figures like Lucretius, like we just mentioned.
Hmm.
Or Leibniz, with his ideas about infinite possibility.
Okay, I can see how those ideas would resonate with Sayers.
Right.
It seems like this view of time must have influenced his approach to philosophy itself.
Absolutely. Because Sayers sees knowledge as this interconnected web, he's not a fan of that traditional philosophical approach.
Which is...
tearing down ideas through just pure critique.
Really?
He'd much rather build something new,
Right.
Find those unexpected connections that can lead us to a more holistic understanding of things.
So less destruction, more construction.
Exactly. Sarah's all about synthesis.
Okay.
About bringing together these seemingly disparate ideas
Right.
to create a more complete and nuanced picture of the world. And this is where his infamous comparison of the Challenger space shuttle disaster to ancient Carthaginian sacrifices to Baal comes in.
Wait, hold on. The Challenger explosion and ancient sacrifices. Now that's what I call an unexpected connection. I'm almost afraid to ask, but how does he even begin to make that comparison?
Well, Sayers, he was known for these bold, I'd even say jarring juxtapositions.
That's putting it mildly.
But here's the thing. He's not saying that these events are the same.
Okay.
He's using them to highlight a deeper underlying pattern in human behavior, a recurring theme across vastly different historical contexts.
So what is that pattern? What's the common thread he sees running through these seemingly unconnected events?
It's about the risks we're willing to take. The sacrifices we make, often in the name of progress or ambition. He's forcing us to confront the potential consequences of our actions, whether we're launching a space shuttle or appeasing ancient gods.
It's like he's saying that no matter how much we advance technologically, certain fundamental aspects of human nature, they just remain constant.
Precisely. And that's a powerful insight,
Mm-hmm.
One that has implications for how we understand our present moment and the choices we make as a society.
It makes you wonder what Sayers would make of our 21st century world.
Right.
But hold on, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We've talked about Sayers' unconventional life, his radical view of time, and his passion for synthesis. But how does all of this translate into a framework for, actually navigating the world? How does he bridge the gap between these big philosophical ideas and the actual challenges we face in our lives? I'm ready to see how this all comes together. So we've got this incredible framework for understanding the world through Sayers' eyes. We're looking at history as this tangled web, embracing synthesis over critique. But how do we bring it all down to earth? How does he connect these, big ideas to the actual challenges we face in the 21st century?
That's where his thoughts on science and morality become particularly relevant. You see, Sayers argues that with all our scientific advancements, we've fundamentally changed our relationship with the world.
How so?
Well, we're not just at the mercy of nature anymore. We're shaping it, for better or worse, with each scientific breakthrough.
So we've gone from being passive observers to active participants in shaping the planet. That's a pretty heavy responsibility to bear.
Exactly. And that's where the moral dimension comes in. Sayers believes that morality is no longer just about our individual choices, but about our collective responsibility for the world we're creating through science and technology. It's a new kind of ethics, one that recognizes the interconnectedness of it all.
So it's less about, should I steal this loaf of bread, and more about what are the implications of, gene editing or artificial intelligence on a global scale.
Precisely. It's about grappling with the unintended consequences of our scientific endeavors, acknowledging that our actions have ripple effects that extend far beyond ourselves.
That makes me think of climate change, for example. No single person is solely responsible for it, but collectively. We've created this crisis through centuries of technological advancement and unsustainable practices.
Exactly. And that's why Sayers is so insistent on the importance of recognizing our interconnectedness, our shared responsibility for the world we're shaping. He's particularly concerned about those who are most vulnerable, those who might bear the brunt of the negative consequences while others reap the benefits.
So it's about ensuring that progress doesn't come at the cost of marginalizing or exploiting certain groups or even entire ecosystems, right? It's about recognizing the inherent value of all beings, not just the privileged few.
Precisely. And that's where true wisdom lies, according to Sayers. It's not just about understanding the science, but about understanding its impact, its ethical implications, and using that knowledge to create a more just and equitable future for all.
That's a powerful message. So as we stand here on the precipice of incredible scientific advancements, how do we move forward with wisdom? What does it actually look like to embrace Sayers' vision of a more interconnected and responsible future?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I think Sayers would say there's no easy answer. It requires constant reflection, a willingness to challenge our assumptions, and a deep understanding of our interconnectedness with each other and the planet.
It's about recognizing that we're not just passive passengers on this spaceship Earth. We're the crew, and it's up to us to steer it in the right direction.
Exactly. It's about asking those tough questions, even when there are no easy answers. It's about acknowledging the complexity of the challenges we face and resisting the urge to fall back on simplistic solutions.
Sayers definitely doesn't let us off easy, does he? His work is challenging, thought-provoking, and at times a little mind-bending.
It can be, yeah, but it's worth it.
But it's also incredibly rewarding. He pushes us to think differently, to see the connections we might otherwise miss, and ultimately to engage with the world in a more mindful and responsible way.
It's a journey worth taking, that's for sure. And who knows, you might just find yourself seeing the world through a whole new lens, one that recognizes the beauty and fragility of our interconnected existence.
You've given us a lot to think about today. If Sayers is right, and our scientific progress forces us to rethink the very nature of good and evil, what does that mean for you, dear listener? How will you choose to shape a more just and humane future? Keep those questions swirling as you continue to explore the fascinating world of Michel Sayers. Until next time, happy deep diving.